These objects were tubular, radiated a crimson hue, and maneuvered with agility that surpassed the era's advanced rockets. As World War II neared its conclusion, the airmen of the 415th Night Fighter Squadron felt they were thrust into a scene straight from War of the Worlds. It was Lieutenant Fred Ringwald who first spotted them. Accompanying him were Lieutenant Ed Schluter, the pilot, and Lieutenant Donald J. Myers, handling the radar. On a partially clouded night in late November 1944, with the quarter moon illuminating the Rhine Valley just above Strasbourg on the French-German boundary, Ringwald questioned, "What could those luminous points be, over the hills?" As recounted in a 1945 American Legion magazine article. These points, numbering between 8 and 10, shone in a blazing amber alignment. Shortly, Schluter identified them adjacent to his right wing. Ground radar of the Allies detected nothing. Assuming it was some novel German aerial tactic, Schluter prepared to engage, but the luminous entities simply disappeared. Initially, the trio remained silent, fearing ridicule. But soon, similar reports emerged within their squadron. The encounters multiplied. Come December 17, 1944, close to Breisach, Germany, a pilot at roughly 800 feet altitude described witnessing 5 or 6 pulsating red and green illuminations arranged in a T pattern. Intriguingly, these lights seemed to shadow him, reducing their distance to approximately 8 o'clock and 1,000 feet before mysteriously fading away. Fast forward to December 22, and 2 additional flight teams reported visual contacts. One team, around Hagenau, documented 2 lights encapsulated within a vivid orange aura, rising swiftly from ground level to 10,000 feet, shadowing their aircraft for around 2 minutes. Subsequently, these lights would break off and divert, maintain a steady course briefly, and then extinguish. Their movement suggests deliberate control, as detailed in Keith Chester's work, Strange Company, Military Encounters with UFOs During World War II. Subsequently, Lieutenant Samuel A. Krasny encountered a unique phenomenon, a luminescent, wingless tubular entity hovering just a short distance from his plane's wing. Alarmed, Lieutenant Krasny urgently advised the pilot to execute defensive actions. However, the radiant entity maintained its position adjacent to the aircraft for an extended period before it eventually darted away into oblivion. In time, these airmen coined a term for these enigmatic illuminations, Foo Fighters. This nomenclature was influenced by the comic series Smokey Stover, where the protagonist, Smokey, a fireman, frequently exclaimed, "When there's foo, expect flames." The battle stress hypothesis. On January 1, 1945, an Associated Press journalist unveiled the mystery of these Foo Fighter sightings, leading to a surge in speculations regarding their nature. Theorists proposed they could be signal flares, meteorological balloons, or even St. Elmo's fire, a luminescent manifestation on objects' extremities during turbulent weather. Yet, the 415th's personnel dismissed these conjectures. In their view, neither flares nor balloons had the capability to shadow aircraft in the manner these entities did. Moreover, having previously witnessed St. Elmo's fire, they could differentiate between the 2 occurrences. Subsequently, some suggested that the airmen were victims of battle strain, a euphemistic phrase implying that the pressures of warfare had affected their mental state. However, there was little evidence to support this theory of mass delusion. The 415th maintained an impeccable service record. A journalist from the American Legion magazine, after covering the squadron, portrayed them as perfectly average airmen. Their foremost concern was the battleground, followed by interests in pin-up models, card games, pastries, and vineyard products. Speaking of his father, Lieutenant Krasny, Keith Krasny clarified that he didn't match the typical mold of a UFO enthusiast. He never insinuated that the radiant, wingless tubular entity accompanying his aircraft was of alien descent. Describing his father, Krasny stated, he approached things rationally and critically, emphasizing that his father maintained a journal, recording and sketching details of his encounter with the Foo Fighter. While his father wasn't given to wild speculations, Krasny revealed his father did consider one possibility. He pondered if it might be cutting-edge German innovation. He acknowledged that many wartime events were shrouded in secrecy. Could Nazi space scientists be responsible? Attributing the luminous airborne anomalies to Nazi Germany isn't an entirely unreasonable theory. Firstly, these mysterious sightings were primarily reported over regions under Nazi control, during a period when the German Luftwaffe was advancing rapidly. Additionally, the sightings notably ceased post the fall of the Nazi regime. A potential link to these puzzling Foo Fighters might be through Wernher von Braun, the prodigious 32-year-old rocket scientist. Von Braun played a pivotal role in aiding the Nazis to design the V-2 rocket, a state-of-the-art long-range missile that, by 1944, Hitler was deploying against Belgium and other parts of Allied territory. It isn't too challenging to the RI's pilots, unfamiliar with advanced rocketry, interpreting these missiles as glowing, wingless, cigar-shaped objects. The V-2's tail, producing a distinctive fiery trail, could account for the observed radiance. Yet, Nicholas Veroniko, a military aviation historian and author, believes this theory lacks substance. The V-2 missile wasn't capable of such agility, he comments. It couldn't alter its trajectory instantaneously or modulate its thrust. Once its engine ignited, it maintained a consistent thrust. Veroniko argues that no known equipment in Nazi Germany's aviation inventory aligns with the detailed accounts of Foo Fighters. One pilot's remark from that era, that the mysterious orbs seemed to tail the fighters with such precision as though they were magnetically attracted, remains an enigma. Veroniko notes, the technological capabilities, in terms of propulsion or metallurgy, to achieve such a phenomenon simply didn't exist then. Nevertheless, it's pertinent to reflect upon von Braun's trajectory post-World War II. After Nazi Germany's fall, this brilliant engineer was inducted into Operation Paperclip, a covert U.S. initiative that granted amnesty to 1,600 Nazi scientists, shielding them from war crime trials. They were assimilated into the U.S. military apparatus, with their controversial histories conveniently veiled from public scrutiny. By 1952, von Braun had reshaped his image as a fervent proponent of space exploration. He authored an article in Collier's magazine that year, projecting that within a decade or so, the heavens will host a man-made satellite which could serve as either an unparalleled instrument for peace, or a formidable tool of warfare, dependent on its creator and overseer. His forecast turned out to be overly cautious, as the Soviets orbited Sputnik 1 merely half a decade later. Subsequently, with von Braun's aid, the U.S. Army launched Explorer 1. By the 1960s, he had joined NASA's ranks, spearheading the development of Saturn V, the very rocket that propelled Apollo 11 and Neil Armstrong to lunar history. While von Braun metamorphosed into a symbol of American ingenuity, shadows of his Nazi affiliation lingered, a murky secret occasionally teased by the media. In a pre-Apollo launch press meet, a journalist cheekily queried if von Braun could guarantee the rocket's trajectory wouldn't intersect London. Concrete evidence eluded them, but in 1985, several years post von Braun's demise, CNN unveiled the true depths of the rocket scientist's Nazi affiliations, for decades post the events. Veroniko aspires for the Foo Fighter conundrum to experience a similar revelation. One can dream that a century post-war, the US or Soviets will unveil classified insights about their acquisitions, shocking us all, posits the historian. But logically, had they discovered anything groundbreaking, it would have already been leveraged or militarized by now.